In today's video, we're going to be taking a look at multiple very interesting things. First off, we're going to be updating you guys on the current upcoming pattern over the next 10 days where we expect a lot of storminess and some big shifts in those storm tracks. Then we're going to be going over the analogs for the summertime for those of you that have missed it. We're even going to give you a sneak peek at the fall, the winter, and we're going to take a look at the current sea surface temperatures in the Atlantic, drawing a lot of concern for potentially a pretty active hurricane season despite that El Nino. So we're going to be talking about all of these things within this video. Be sure to check out the trilogy maps in the description and pinned comment down below, by the way, as well. While those are on sale, 50% off, and then you can use my 33% off discount code DIRECT as well on top of that to get an insane amount of discounts over there for the highest definition and most customizable maps anywhere on the internet. Let's walk through with this. We will be going over those very long-range analogs for this El Nino year that we have coming on. We talked about it in yesterday's video as well, kind of drawing in why I'm picking some of these analogs to be our most favorable ones to potentially match up with this upcoming fall, winter, and the rest of the summer, of course, as well. So be sure to stay tuned for that. We can see that a lot of what we're going to be seeing is in the beginning here, we see a lot of this activity is out west here. And it's not going to completely die off, but we are going to see a lot of this take aim at the southeast actually over time. This is as we're reaching Thursday tomorrow from the time I'm making this video. Kind of typical summertime stuff. We're finally getting into that type of a pattern where we do see activity on kind of all four corners here, as you can see. Scattered about activity. We see this continue, okay, so for Friday, Saturday here, the 17th into the 18th. But we start to see something interesting. We see this storm that is very persistent and is kind of just flaring up. Look at this. It's a very violent storm, and it's just flaring up multiple scattered thunderstorms. And eventually, by the 20th, this takes aim at the southeast, only 6 days from now. And that continues to flare up day after day after day from the 20th through the 24th, and that is going to lead towards a ton of precipitation. I also want to draw your attention out west, where we're nearing July here, and we still have major rocky and cascade snowstorms taking place. Again, potentially one of the coldest summers of all time is what I am potentially calling for here. And that's what I've been saying, is that this summer does not look to be a very hot one. And this is just not typical stuff, seeing major widespread snowfall events in the Northwest for late June. Still seeing widespread snow events. I mean, this is just very unusual stuff, and it kind of draws the question, what is going on with the weather? And I think it's just we've been stuck in such a warm pattern for so many years that this feels very alarming, but really this is kind of getting back to normalcy of some time ago. Now, as we take a look at this total precipitation, we can see where this storm here is the main player here and the main factor in this above average precipitation that we see throughout all of these red areas. Here we can see a lot of this precipitation for the Northwest, but again, most of that is going to be snowfall. We even see a pocket here across the deeper south into the southeast, and this is going to be for 5 to 10 inches of rainfall. So significant amounts of precipitation taking place here across the southeast states. Now, the total snowfall, as you can see, is pretty substantial here for late June. So this is from today, June 14th through June 24th, according to the European model, and we see widespread snowfall. This is very typical of what you would see perhaps in May, April timeframe, or September, October, November timeframe, and we are in late June, nearing the middle point of the summer, basically, when we should be at peak summer heat, which is approximately late June into early July, and here we are dealing with major snowfall. Will there be a single, maybe there will be a week or two without snowfall here? I don't know how short the summer is going to be for these areas, but very significant amounts of snowfall, and again, very unusual, and it does jump off the screen at you. That is one of the more alarming things going on right now. As we move into these temperature anomalies, we can see there's plenty of cold to go around, both for the west, a bit of the central here, and then a lot of the east here as well. And we can see a couple of warmer areas across the upper Midwest and Texas and Louisiana, but the rest of the nation is cold. So there is a few of you that are probably going to be like, what are you talking about, a cold summer? It's been hot, and you probably live in one of these two yellow areas, because everywhere else it is significantly below normal temperatures. We see that as we move on, these red and orange areas kind of move around, but it still stays pretty significant with the two colder areas here. taking up a very large majority of the country here. Again, mostly Texas and kind of these more plains areas in the Midwest and the Great Lakes dealing with the warmth, and then these two coasts dealing with the colder temperatures. This is by the 23rd. As we continue this on, we see some more warmth spreading for the central United States, but again, the West still dealing with some cold, and especially the East here, where things have been cold since middle or even early May. And this still, even when the warmth looks to be moving eastward, does not budge. This is an ensemble model, and it does take into account kind of climate averages, so it does tend to warm up over time, as you can see, and become a lot less significant with the cold. But I wouldn't be surprised if when we get closer, this ends up being a lot more significant than even this is showing right here. So we're going to be watching these temperature patterns every single day with you guys. Also, let's go ahead and talk about our analogs here. So this was the summertime analogs, June to August, 2009, 2014, 2015, 2004. These ones seem to really be on par with what we've seen so far, and really they say very, very cold air is on the way for all of these areas still. And this would be a significantly below average summer. June has been on par with what these analogs show. It's really a big question of if July, August are going to follow suit here. But June is already going down as just very wacky, to say the least. Warm in here would indicate less snowfall, but we've even been cold in these parts too. Again, it's mostly actually here and like here where we've had some warmth. So some of these areas are where it should be the coldest. That might come in July, August time frame, but down here is a little bit more neutral, so it's to be expected a little bit more warmth down here. You can even see Florida with a little bit of yellow here according to the analogs. So these areas are near normal for the further south areas here, as you can see. Warmer than normal for the west according to the analogs, and it's mostly the northern central United States and the northeastern United States here, June to August, that according to these analogs, that by the way are all El Nino years. They all had similar Pacific conditions, and it's really the Atlantic that's very different from any of these, and we'll take a look at the Atlantic in a minute. As we take a look at this would be the precipitation. So we do actually expect a lot more activity to begin taking place in these parts than what we've been seeing. So we do expect a big shift in a more wet direction for these areas. It's mostly the deeper southeast here where we would see below normal precipitation, and then maybe the upper Midwest according to these analogs. Now here would be the fall time, 2009, 2014, 2002, which again match up with what our Pacific is supposed to look like by the time we're reaching this time frame. We took a look at the fall in yesterday's video, and we took a deep dive into it. This is September through November. If you want to check that video out, go ahead and check it out. It was yesterday's upload, and we really took a massive deep dive into the fall and what these analogs would mean. We even took a look at the wintertime. This is what that would look like, 2009 to 2010, 2014 to 2015, and then 2002 to 2003 there, December to February, and look at the significant warmth out west, and then just a ton of Arctic air into the east, and tons of snowfall as well in a lot of these winters. So very, very snowy, very, very cold in the east is what these analogs would point towards. Again, we talked about that in yesterday's video as well, so be sure to check that out. Now here is the Atlantic conditions, and this is the main difference, and this is what's changed since we last took a look at our hurricane season update or outlook here, and look at how much warmth. This is our MDR, main development region here, and this is probably one of the warmest MDR conditions we've seen heading into the beginning of a hurricane season in recent history, or almost ever. This is just so warm in this area. It's unbelievable. Development is going to be so easy to come by in here for tropical systems. And then if they head directly west from there, they are going to be moving into pretty favorable waters as well, all the way through. So whether they head northward here, very favorable conditions, whether they head towards the Caribbean or the Gulf, even the southern Caribbean is quite warm right now, though dry usually. It's mostly this east coast area that is experiencing below normal waters, and this is probably because of the below average air that is overhead. This is cooling the waters at the surface. We live in Virginia here, and I went to the ocean at Virginia Beach just about a week ago or so, and I swam, but it is very, very cold, the water. Usually around here, it is very warm by the time I reach the summertime, at least 70s or 80s, but that water was, you know the feeling if you've been in the ocean when it's this cold, but your head feels like it has just like pins kind of stabbing it all over the place. It feels very staticky when you go in shockingly cold water like that. I take cold showers, so I was in there for like an hour or two and got really sunburnt because the air was the sun was hot, but the water was very, very cold. And we actually see that offshore Virginia here, below normal waters, perhaps 1 to 5 degrees below normal, but it felt even colder than that, to be honest with you. But we see significantly cold waters offshore of the East Coast, and I think it's due to that air being below normal that we've seen. Anyway, we are going to be making a hurricane season update soon, so this was a little bit of a sneak peek at that. The El Nino poses the potential for a decreased amount of activity, but this Atlantic says otherwise. This Atlantic is very, very ripe, and it's very, very warm. Almost historically good conditions for hurricane development and tropical development here in the Atlantic. And we're going to have to really, really hone down which of those two factors is going to kind of win out the balance beam here. Will the El Nino take over and we see less activity? Or will the Atlantic, being this warm, really outdo any other impact or any other effect taking place? That's a big question. I think there's a lot of room for boom or bust potential here, where this can either be really wrong or really right, depending on which direction forecasters go. And I've seen a lot of people saying they don't see it being a below average hurricane season despite that El Nino, which would be very, very strange to say the least. So very odd summer, very cold fall, which is odd for the past 10 to 15 years. Potentially cold and snowy winter. That would be like the first cold and snowy winter in the past 5+ years. So a lot of very interesting things happening, as well as this extreme boom or bust hurricane season coming up. So be sure to subscribe because we have so many interesting videos on the way because of all these crazy factors going on right now. You can even hit the bell icon for daily notifications when we upload so you never miss one. Be sure to like the video if you did enjoy it, leave a comment down below, and I will see you guys in the next video.